Hello and welcome to Prepping for Chapter 1. Now that you've made it through the prospectus stage, I'm going to walk you through Chapter 1 to hopefully make the transition over to the proposal a little bit more smooth. So let's dive right in. Okay, prepping for Chapter 1. Give yourself a pat on the back for making it to the proposal stage. That's really big. The prospectus can be a little bit challenging to overcome. Hopefully you have a better idea as to what is expected of you and how the process is going to move forward. Okay, first things first in Chapter 1. Your prospectus is not your Chapter 1. It's a great guide, but it does not transfer over to be Chapter 1. So please know that. The first thing that you will want to do is become best friends with your checklist. Your checklist looks like this, and it's going to have a section for every single thing that you need to do. So as you can see on here, Chapter 1, that's where you're going to want to start. Pull out, print it out. I highly recommend that you print it out and you keep it with you every time you work on your proposal. Make sure that you are not going off track. Make sure that you're not covering things that are not necessary. Make sure that you are sticking to the checklist. As long as you do that, you will fly through this process. So we talked before about alignment, and what you're doing is you're making sure that the problem statement that you shared matches up, that it makes sense to fit with the purpose of your study, that it matches your research question, that the theory that you're using can help blend all of those together, as well as how you're going to go about this study and the significance of it. So for example, my research study was on gray divorce. So my problem statement is that gray divorce, which is divorce after the age of 50, is on the rise. It's doubled since the 1990s. The purpose of my study was to understand the attitudes and the attitudes of adult children of gray divorce regarding marriage and divorce. So the purpose was to understand if adults who are affected by divorce are influenced in their attitudes of marriage and divorce. My research question is, what are the attitudes of marriage and divorce among adult children of gray divorce? The theory that I used is social learning theory. Social learning theory has been used many times in understanding parent-child relationships. It's also been used many times in studies regarding observation. I was looking at what these children observed in their childhood regarding their parents' marriage, as well as what they observed in their adult years observing their parents' marriage, and what they observed through their parents' divorce. So that theory aligned with what I was looking at. I needed their observations, and then I needed to understand their attitudes regarding what they observed. The method that I used was I used a qualitative study and I did interviews. While I could have used a scale for attitudes of behavior regarding marriage and divorce, I chose the qualitative route to ask them. So there can be more than one method that fits your study. Find what works best for you. And the significance of my study is that because gray divorce is on the rise, we need to understand how adult children are affected by this. How does it impact their attitudes towards marriage and divorce? Hopefully that gives you an idea as to what alignment is. You have to make sure that each of these things match up. Just like a recipe, you need to make sure all of the ingredients go together, that it's cohesive, and that it makes sense. So I advise that you write these down and write each of these things down on your paper. And then go through it out loud with a friend, with a peer, and make sure that everything is in alignment. Make sure that it all makes sense and that it goes together well. Next, you will be working on the Walden template. So you'll need to get the Walden template from their online sources. The next thing that you'll need to do is turn on the Pilcrow symbol. I will show you how to do this. I will show you how to do this on a different screen. Okay, I will show you how to do this for the end of the slides. But the Pilcrow symbol will save you. This is what keeps the formatting of the template. If you mess up the formatting, you're going to have to download a new template and copy and paste everything over. So turn the Pilcrow symbol on now so that you don't have to copy and paste too many times into a new template. This helps to make sure that you're not deleting page breaks. It helps to make sure that everything stays where it needs to be so that eventually when you're doing the table of contents and things like that, it's all going to work. Don't worry about the abstract pages or numbers right now. Just focus on putting the information where you need to put it in the template. Do not touch the table of contents. You're not going to manually do anything in the table of contents. That will all be generated for you using the template. So don't worry about doing any of that, and we can go over that at the end of chapter 3 as to how to update the table of contents and make sure everything's okay. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to use the sections in your checklist to label your paper. So if you look at your checklist, chapter 1, the first section is introduction. That's going to be your, you're going to use this heading in chapter 1. And again, you're going to move down. You're going to use background. You're going to use the problem statement. So you're going to be following your checklist exactly. And then within each of those sections, you are going to find the requirements needed in that paragraph. I recommend that you look at each section right here, box number 1, box number 2, box number 3. Follow it exactly, because eventually you're going to have to copy and paste the information from your proposal into this checklist. The more organized it is, the more in order it is, that's going to make the process much, much easier. Okay, chapter 1 includes only references from the last 5 years. So when you're starting chapter 1, really, really think about this. If you are starting chapter 1 in 2022 and you don't think that you're going to graduate for another 2 or 3 years, think about that when you're doing your references. They need to be current. So use everything as current as you possibly can. I recommend that you don't get sources from 5 years ago right now. Even be wary of 3 years ago, depending on how long it's going to take to finish this process. So remember that in chapter 1, and remember that throughout your whole study, that the more current the research, the better. Okay, academic writing. This is going to save you in the end. If you understand academic writing now, the process will be much easier to get through your chairs, to get through form and style, and everyone else. So first things that you're going to do is you're going to remove bias from your writing. That's feeling words or adjectives. So this has nothing to do with you. Even though you're interested in this topic, this paper is not about you. It's not about what you think. It's not about what you feel. And it's not about making the problem seem bigger than what it is. It's already a problem. So don't use words that are going to fluff it up. This is academic writing. You're going to remove all the adverbs. Adverbs equal weak writing. So that means very, greatly, many, extremely. You can use terms like significantly because that's a scientific term. So gray divorce has significantly increased in the last 3 decades. That is fine, but back it up with a source. But whenever you use adverbs, it sounds like you're trying to make it more than what it is. Use what you know, use what has been stated, use the facts. This is not a time to fluff your paper or to make it more. You're going to want to use the active voice. So I gave examples here. The cashier counted the money. That is, yes, that is active voice. The cashier started doing something. The money was counted by the cashier. No. So take a look at how you're writing things. You're going to want the noun to be first. And if you go on Walden's website, they will, or if you look it up online, you can see the difference between active voice and passive voice and the order of nouns and verbs and things like that. Okay, past tense. Everything that you're writing has already been discovered. So make sure that you are keeping everything in past tense. Amato et al. Discovered. Van Buren found. All of those things need to be past tense. You want to avoid textbooks. and find journal articles. Textbooks are frowned upon within this, within the proposal and actually the dissertation in general. You need to find journal articles that back it up. Scholarly tone, that is what I've been talking about this whole time. It sounds dry and boring, but that is academia. You're not writing a novel, you're writing facts, you're writing science. And then at the end, revise, 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 use Grammarly, use a person, check for errors, find someone who's really good at APA, find anyone to read it, to find the words that Grammarly did not catch, or the phrases that may sound strange or that just don't really make sense. Having a second pair of eyes can really help you in the end. Synthesizing. This is talked about at residencies, but sometimes it can be a hard concept to grasp. It's also something that you did in one of your previous courses. So synthesizing, this does not mean that you're repeating the same information over and over and over. It also does not mean that you are just summarizing or regurgitating what you've read. You're not taking an author and just telling me everything that Amato discovered or everything that Johnson discovered. What you're trying to do is, one more thing. And you're not changing the meaning of what was discovered to fit your need. So just because Johnson stated something and half of it is relevant to you does not mean that you can change his meaning and use him in your paper. So make sure that you are respectful and understand that you have to use the information that applies and that is factual and that makes sense in your study. So what synthesizing really is, let me read this one. It says, accurately reports information from the sources using your own words. So that means you're reading about Amato and he's discovered these 3 different things, and those really are relevant to your study. And you're reading about Johnson, and you're reading about Jeffries, and you're reading about Paulman et al. What you're going to do is you're going to take all of those that you're reading about and see how they fit together. Maybe it's all the same topic. Maybe it's all about gray divorce, but it's about different aspects of gray divorce. Maybe it's about the financial instability that comes. Maybe it's about the legalities that happen or the court cases, how they differ. You're going to put all of those together into a sentence, and then you're going to mark them all at the end. That gray divorce has a great effect on the older generation in terms of financial insecurity, as well as the difference within court cases than they have in younger divorces. It could be about that they don't have to deal with child custody, but they do have to deal with 401ks. All of this information that you're learning throughout the research that you have been doing, you're going to blend it all together. You're going to synthesize it. You're going to make things cohesive. You're going to bring all of this information together to make sense and to help people understand your problem or your purpose or whatever it may be. You're going to organize it in a way that readers can immediately see where the information and the sources overlap. And you're going to make sense of the sources to help the reader understand them in greater depth. You are doing the work for your reader. You are researching everything in the background of your study, and you are putting it together. And you're going to use all of these sources and all of these people's discoveries to help your reader make sense of what's going on. Things I wish that I had known in chapter 1. Become very, very familiar with your theory. Your theory is going to stick with you, and it is going to be a very big part of your dissertation process and of your actual study. When you are gathering data, your theory is going to be one of the number 1 things that you are relying on. So you will need to understand it in order to use it. You will need to defend why you chose that theory. You're going to show how it's being used, why you picked that one, when this theory has been used previously, and how that's relevant to your study. So really understand what your theory is and how you're going to use it and why it's applicable. The next thing you're going to want to do is become best friends with your first chair and your second chair. They want to help you. They are required to help you. It is their job to help you. So become close to them. get a good relationship with them, understand how they like to communicate, understand how often they want to communicate. Talk to them. They can help you. If you have questions, ask. That's what they are there for. The next part that I wish that I had known was the difference, was understanding the scope and delimitations. And they do an analogy at the residencies with a gun, that your scope is looking through the scope of a gun. Everything that you see, that is the scope of your population, of your theory, everything that you see within that little area, that's what you're focusing on in your study. The delimitations is everything outside of that scope. So the population that you're not focusing on, why? Why did you choose the population within that scope? Why did you exclude the population outside of it? So if I was looking at adult children of gray divorce, so my population was adults over the age of 18 when their parents got divorced, and who were residents of the United States and whose parents divorced after the age of 50. That's what I was looking at. That's what qualified them for my study. Gray divorce is after the age of 50. That's why I chose this population. And I wanted adults, so they had to be over the age of 18 when their parents divorced. So find your population and understand why you're choosing them. And then also understand why you're excluding everyone on the other side. The same for your theory. Why are you choosing that theory? What about it fits within the scope of your study? And what other theories are you not using and why? You'll have to understand that. The next thing I would recommend is that you find a mentor. Find someone in your class who is either at your same stage or 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, because it's great to have a friend, text, call, meet online. Have someone that you can turn to and say, I don't understand this. What does this checklist say? I get that it says XYZ, but I don't really understand what it's asking for. Have someone that can help you. The next is share your questions, again, with your mentor, with your peers, with your chairs. The longer you hold on to questions, the longer you're going to be in this stage. So ask, ask, ask. It is not fun to sit longer than you have to. So make sure that you understand everything. And if you don't, just ask. We've all been there. And the next is to take the residencies when the school recommends them. I did a dissertation intensive for my 4th residency, and I very highly recommend it. It walks you through all the different chapters of the dissertation, and it can give you a really great head start on the chapters. I wrote the rest of chapter 1 and a lot of chapter 3 in my dissertation intensive because I had someone there that was reading it and giving me feedback very quickly. And I also had the support and the presentations of the professors that were discussing what was needed in each chapter. So resources that you need for chapter 1 are the Walden Library. I highly recommend that you only search through the Walden Library. Google Scholar is great, but you'll have to do a little bit more legwork for them, because in the Walden Library, you can filter so that only peer-reviewed articles show. So I highly recommend that you use Walden. And you can even search Google Scholar through Walden, and that is the best source that you can use. It's going to save a lot of work if you can exclude all of the non-peer-reviewed articles. There's no reason to read them. There's no reason to use them in your study. You can read them. That's great. Gain information, but you can't use them. The next is the Writing Center. You can submit your paper and they will help you. So that's a great resource that a lot of people use. You can turn in chapter 1 to them and they will give you feedback as to how to improve it, what corrections to make. And the next one is to use crossref.org. This is an online source that you can upload your paper into as many times as you want, and it checks your paper for plagiarism. It checks it for if your sources are incorrect, if you are stating something by Johnson in the paper, but you don't have Johnson in your references, or vice versa. You have Johnson in your references, but he's nowhere to be found in your paper. It helps you keep everything in order. It also will populate what they think the citation should be. I do recommend that you research it, because sometimes people can be published to multiple journals, and the journal that you use might be 2018, but Crossref might view it somewhere else as 2019. So check it, but it's a great, great source to make sure that all of your references are in order. All right, you've got this. You have the tools that you need. Find and talk to your chair, find and talk to friends, stay close to people along the way. We're all going through this journey, and it's so much helpful if you have someone there to be by your side and to help you succeed. Okay, I hope that this was very helpful for chapter 1. Please reach out to your chair if you have questions. Look over your checklist. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you follow your checklist, you will be safe. Follow your checklist, and it has every paragraph mapped out for you. And you'll be able to move on to chapter 2 before you know it. Have a good day.